all of you for joining us on today. I am not going to hold up any more time. I'm going to allow Mr. Harris to come to the podium. He's prepared some exciting remarks for us, in which I truly believe will be educational. Many of us might know some things, but he always has some unknown facts that he's always willing to share, and so we thank him for his time this morning, and I'm going to turn the mic over to him.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's so awesome to see folk get together prior to your stomachs growling. Lunchtime is on the way. I promise I will not be long. I was requested here to talk about black business here, not only in the city of Detroit, but the state of Michigan. A little bit about myself. I'm a native Detroiter, so I'm no stranger to the city. Could bounce the ball really well. Attended on a full scholarship at Clark Atlanta University. Did my bachelor's and master's there. I was the direct liaison to Mayor Bill Campbell with the U.S. Olympics, which brought me back home to become the first black chief of staff for the city of Southfield at the age of 25. There went on to a number of different roles that you've probably seen me in over the years, in which I was elected here to the Detroit Charter Commission by 50,000 people, a citywide election that gave you guys districts, new policy to govern yourselves effectively here in the city of Detroit. So it was a profound experience, and presently over the last 3 years after my role with the Michigan Minority Business Development Council, which is the largest in the country, I served as executive vice president there for 7 years before taking this role as the head of the state's Black Chamber of Commerce. In essence, this is important because I believe that this is the third Reconstruction for black folk. In our first Reconstruction, you all were not around, but post-emancipation, black folks went into business, and we were pretty successful at it after slavery. But the 40 acres and a mule did not reach its full promise, and most of the land that we acquired was taken back through black codes and Jim Crow. The second Reconstruction, as we all well know, was what? Anybody know? Raise your hand. Affirmative action in the civil rights movement, except the affirmative action policy did not have an economic and financial agenda for African Americans. Although Nixon created SBA, a lot of the shortcomings of these programs are reminiscent in today, in which you see that African American businesses, although successful, we still got a long way to go. So to me, discussing black business today, I thank the NAACP for allowing me to have just this brief 15 to 20 minute forum, but I believe this is the third Reconstruction, which is the financial and economic empowerment of African Americans. When you think about our position in society, if we're able to figure out that equation, we won't have to depend on folks. If we can provide for ourselves and build our communities and become a vital part of the economic fabric of the state of Michigan, we can also help revitalize the state's economy as well. Most people do not know that over 79,000 black businesses reside here in the state of Michigan, and over 32,000 in the city of Detroit, which is ranked number 4 in the entire country, behind New York, LA, and Chicago. So when you look at black business as a whole, we're growing 3 times the national rate, but most importantly, out of those black businesses, 90% of the 72,000 and the 32,000 are between 1 and 3 employees. And so that's pretty much consistent around most ethnic groups and most races. Most startup companies either make it, build capacity, build scale, or grow, or what? They fall apart, they don't make it, or someone else goes into another venture. So we got a lot of work to do. There's a lot of promise. Our goal is, as a Chamber of Commerce, 3 years ago, there's been organizations around, such as Booker T. Washington, which is over 83 years old. There have been business professional groups, there's been entrepreneurial societies that have been in place, and what the business elite decided to do, that out of Black Enterprise Magazine's top 100, 27 of those companies exist here in metropolitan Detroit. So we have companies that are multi-billion-dollar companies that are African American owned here in metropolitan Detroit, and we also have your mom and pop shops in just about every single industry and sector. our goal is to make the environment competitive. And so the business elite got together 3 years ago to form the first statewide Black Chamber of Commerce to bring all the business organizations under one umbrella to have one voice. And most importantly, we decided that we were going to go on a progressive agenda and put Black Chambers of Commerce in just about every urban community in the state of Michigan. So within just 1 year and a half, we now have Black Chambers in Grand Rapids, Lansing, Pontiac, Flint, Southfield, Detroit, and our newest chapter, which has just been phenomenal, Ann Arbor and Ypsilanti. And so our goal is to bring about a resource capacity building organization, not only for Black businesses to network, but to have the opportunity to compete and build scale. What's most importantly that you all know, your network is your net worth. We're very strategic in our ability to get things done politically and socially, but now it's time to get things done economically. So our focus is now shifting to our economic pursuit. How do we turn those contacts into contracts? And that is something that has been a major focus of ours over the past 3 years. As a chamber, we have grown to one of the largest African American chambers of commerce overnight in a very short period of time, representing over 1,700 paid members in the Black Chamber of Commerce. And again, our business elite represents about $14.6 billion in total revenue. And so we are able to engage folk who have entrepreneurial aspirations, folk who are starting a business, have a business idea. Now you have a chamber of commerce that you can associate yourself with. Also, the chamber provides not just resources for organizations, but we provide advocacy, access to capital, entrepreneurial training, and more for folks who have capacity, scope, and scale to do business with Fortune 500 and Fortune 50 companies. We can get you to the table with those folks so that you can procure those types of services that might exist. That's absolutely extremely important. You already know that statistically, we spend almost close to $1.2 trillion as a purchasing power. Here throughout the country. In the state of Michigan, we spend over $8.3 billion as a community. But most importantly, like the Jewish community, who has a very welcome model, their dollar circulates between 8 to 10 times in their community. In the Asian community, about 9 to 10 times. In the Hispanic community, about 7 to 10 times. And just about every single other ethnic group, they patronize and support each other. African American dollar only stays in the community one time before it is excavated outside of the community. So when you think about our ability as an $8.3 billion purchasing power here in the state of Michigan, we have influence. We spend a lot of money in a lot of places, but most of which we don't spend it with each other. And so our goal is to concertatively create that database so that now we can support businesses that are African American owned, and then people who are interested in the African American market, such as the Jewish community, the Asian community, the Hispanic community, the Chaldean American community, who have a real interest in doing business with us, now can engage the African American community properly. And so with that, there's an excellent opportunity now that Black-owned firms are growing 3 times the national rate, which means most Black folk, if you ask them to raise their hand, would you like to go in business for yourself? I can do it here. How many of you all would like to work for yourself one day? All right. If you went into the K through 12 school system and you asked most of those young folk in the room, would you rather work for somebody or would you rather have your own business? 90% of those folks, usually, if you estimate it, will say, I want to own my own business and go into my own passion or endeavor. And so politicians are probably the most likely folks to go into business. Why? Because you're hustling to get in office and you're learning all the trades of how to grow your business, market your business, and grassroots, etc. So again, highlighting those statistics are important so that when you go away, yes, there's the 4th largest Black business community in the entire country here in the city of Detroit. You all should know that. But again, we have a long way to go because we need to help those 1 to 3 employee type businesses grow to scale and capacity and get them to 10 and 20 employees so that they're competing not just here in the state, but nationally and globally. So now that you kind of have an idea about the chamber, I'll kind of summarize this whole inclusion piece and really talk about why it's essential that black business owners really have a voice as to what's going on here in the city of Detroit specifically. As you know, there's been about $1.4 billion spent between New Center and downtown. Well, most of that money has not reached the neighborhoods. It has not reached minority and women-owned businesses. Less than 10% of NEI's program, which was $100 million, did not trickle itself down into the community. Imagine what each district of the 7 districts could do with an extra $2 or $3 million in each of those districts. Imagine what a business could do with just an infusion of that type of scale of capital into these communities. We could do a tremendous amount in our communities. And when you spend $1.4 billion and a community and neighborhoods are excluded from that process, now you can see that there's a little worry. You got the bridge coming up, the N1 rail project coming up, tons of economic development, the stadium, et cetera, and we want to make sure that folk who have skin in the game, taxpayers who pay tax dollars, know where their money is going and that their skin in the game is respected. And so these private-public partnerships on most of these deals need to equal in commerce, not just training dollars. It seems like black folks, at the end of the day, we get trained to death. You know, they'll train us for everything. They'll put programs together. They'll, teach you how to get to the water, but we need to be drinking the water, know how to drink the water, and more importantly, produce, manufacture, and distribute the water. And so our mindset has to change a little bit. And so that's why now at the forefront of this discussion is economic development, especially for a majority-minority community. I don't like the word minority, but in this city, the majority is the minority, which is African American at 82%. But if you look at our economic value, it's far below 10%. So we got a lot of work to do, folks, and I just was saying a small quote over here after I spoke as the keynote speaker for Fannie Lou Hamer's Political Action Committee is that you got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. But even with that, we got a lot of work to do, and we're all in this together. And until there is total equality, until disparity gaps have been closed, until we deal with the numbers and empirical scenarios, and not just the glossy speeches and, oh, Chase Bank, $100 million to the city of Detroit. Well, what does that mean? How many folk are being hired at executive levels? How many folk have procurement opportunities to buy products, commodities, and services that black folks provide? And more importantly, are you inviting the minority and women community to the table? I talk to all of those groups, and the answer is just about the same. So we have to just make sure that there's equality, there's economic equality, and that the chamber is going to be here to support you guys as you move forward.